Our theme for September was expanded consciousness, and I think proved to be really interesting, really valuable. And now we are grounding that expanded consciousness in the month of October into our physical lives, stabilizing it, learning how to function in the world, balancing the two, expanded awareness and concrete existence. And so the theme for this month is actualizing nirvana, which is a take on the name of the Academy for Women. What is it? Academy for Women Actualizing Nirvana. What is our name? Academy. Wow. Academy for Women
Actualizing
Everyday Nirvana.
Actualizing knowledge of everyday nirvana.
Oh, knowledge. Thank you. Okay, so there you have it. So let's see. Where shall we begin? Vic, you want to start?
Well, our first class is actually Inelia's class.
Yes, it's 2 days away. It's called Ultradimensional Incarnation. So I think that it's going to be really exciting, especially where we are at the moment. What exactly does it mean? When we incarnate into the human body as a human being, we start a monologue. Yeah, it's like an experience of a monologue. That's why so many people feel alone, disconnected, and basically unable to see other people's viewpoints, literally see them. There's some people who are born with that disconnect a little bit thinner, and they have a multidimensionality of viewpoints, and we call them psychics, yeah? So they can tap into other knowledges and the Akashic records and all sorts of things. They can see more than the regular folk. And how does that happen? It's because we are, at a DNA level, we are multidimensional, we are ultradimensional. And by fully integrating that physicality into our beingness at a physical level, we can become ultradimensional and we can expand on those points of awareness, yeah? So we're going to go into the really technical aspects of it, that I like to open the hood and see how the engine works. So if you're in that mindset, then that's great. But also I will be doing an exercise to really tap into it and go into the multidimensionality of incarnation. So I'm very excited about it, especially this month with regards to everything that's happening at the moment. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. So, yeah.
And should we talk a little bit about our joint class that we're doing while your mic is open? Form meets formlessness, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy we delayed this class from September because I think it's even more relevant now based on, as you say, what's happening energetically.
Yes.
So I have some interesting questions to pose to you, Inelia.
And I have some interesting questions for you.
Uh-oh. And I'm going to have fun just listening to this.
Yeah, I think you volunteered to do the control panel, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting session because we are both and we use both. And if we're going to actualize nirvana, then you need both. And I think, I'm realizing more and more as this new seeing about the experiment in consciousness being over and feeling my way into this beingness, I'm just realizing, if you're formless, you can pick up form as a tool and use it, and it no longer has to define us. That's kind of my trajectory for entering the call.
Yeah. And if anybody that has a pen and paper, record that, because that point that Lucia just said, it's key. It's one of the most important things that you can possibly get with your beingness and your mind in this lifetime. It's a real gem.
Yeah, it's just giving up more and more identity. So you define yourself as a psychic, you define yourself as a mystic, you define yourself as doing or form. And ultimately, we're just being, right? And picking up all these tools. Fascinating. Okay, so Victoria?
Well, I had a good reason to let Inelia go first, because the first class that I'm offering this month is, we didn't plan it this way, but again, it's similar. It's like a follow-on, because I also had a class that I scheduled for last month, and I decided to postpone it until this month, and I'm really glad I did. Full Body Enlightenment is the title of it, and it's really about, about how what enlightenment has always been considered in the past was very, it had parameters that were from the patriarchal period of time. So enlightenment was seen as primarily mental or emotional quietude, and very, very much about bringing the emotions absolutely to rest, and primarily masculine. There was a certain quality that we all have associated with that state known as enlightenment, which very purposefully excluded the physical body and the emotional body. And this time around, at this major transition point that we're in, it's the whole enchilada. It's the body. The physical enlightenment is moving all the way into this multi-dimensional physical expression of source known as the body. And as the feminine principle of the divine feminine comes more into the fore, and this balancing of the divine feminine and divine masculine comes to be, there is also room for a very different quality of enlightenment that includes emotions that are expressed and experienced, but not, again, not something that overtakes the identity and causes a contraction of that pure source energy. So I really, the reason I had to postpone it until this month is that I felt that it was important to do that class that we did last month on awakening the samadhi channels first. And it's not going to be a requirement, but I am going to recommend that if you take this class, you might want to take that other one first. Even if you didn't take it before, just get the recording, because that also affects the awakening of the physical. So,
was this class inspired by your connection with Sarah Beate?
Well, Sarah, Leslie, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I've gotten up on this soapbox before, but it was, yeah, definitely. Sarah and I have become friends, and we've really talked about this a lot. And I've also experienced it, with how many years of hanging out with Leslie. There's a very different and much more expanded definition of enlightenment that is much more feminine friendly, shall we say? Yeah.
I'm reading her book and just totally loving it.
Oh, you got it. Good.
Yeah. So if that's a must read, I think. And if you're not aware, we did an interview. Victoria did an interview with Sarah Beate that's just lovely. It's on our announcements page, so tap into that if you haven't already.
Yeah. So also if you have a copy of that book, read it before the class. It'll inspire you. And then there's a follow-up class later in the month that is about repairing a subtle physical body, more of a technical look at that. And it was inspired in some ways by the work that a group of us did on processing victim-tyrant as it relates to sexuality. We touched on the subject in that class of how women are conditioned to actually adopt behaviors that are contraindicated for their subtle physical bodies that actually invite in projections that create problems. So we'll talk about that later in the month, and as most of you know who've taken my classes before, there's usually an element of processing, an element of meditation, and an element of understanding. So.
And this is going to cover a lot of the information that Rama gave us as students, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of that, because he was very hip to this fact that women's subtle physical bodies were so much more luminous and porous and conducive to the energy of enlightenment. But our conditioning created a situation where we just took a lot of slings and arrows that sort of shredded the subtle physical body. But understanding how that happens can go a very long way in not only avoiding it in the future, but also being able to recalibrate and refine and bring that subtle body back into its innate perfection. So that's what we're going to be dealing with.
Yeah, Rama used to say that, the subtle physical body has to be in perfect shape in order to retain, not in perfect shape, but it has to be repaired in order to retain light. And unless we can retain an abundance of light in the awareness field, then we can never truly realize the universal self. So that's the reason behind the whole class and we all have damage to our subtle physical body without question just by living through the patriarchal paradigm, that dynamic. So it's a really important, I'm so happy you're giving this class, really important. I may have to sit in on it.
Well, you may have to add some things here and there too, because we both Lucia and I met Rama with very fractured subtle physical.
Yeah, we won't go into why.
Oh, come on. Too many men in our lives, I think was the reason. Anyway, but we did it. He really gave us a lot of great guidance on and it's so timely right now with this being able and capable of going with the flow, this sweep of energy that's happening right now. It's just very timely. So I hope you can join us that day too.
Very good. So Elizabeth, why don't we give you the mic about your body love class?
Well, thank you. In this class, I'm going to join Susan Gash in the Healing Garden again. It's a fun place. And we're going to look at how we all have armor and chains and all kinds of different tie-ups that are part of our conditioning. And this is deeply in our chakras and the meridians and the energy pathways in the body. And we're going to remove them and replace them with a different kind of energy, that really beautiful unconditional love. And it's not the fluffy, happy, pink bunny love. It's hardcore, unconditional love. And I'm going to help everyone walk through this path in their bodies and remove all of these different conditions and all of these different armors. But we're also going to learn how to do this on a regular basis so that once people take the class, they can practice this regularly and be able to build up a kind of deeper, unconditional love for the self and the body. So that's my intention, is to help everyone learn how to practice that, because I do believe that we're often bombarded by these ideas that we're not good enough, and especially for women. And so it's really important for us to learn how to take away that particular program of self-hatred, of worthlessness that's linked directly to the body.
And you have such an awesome background that you're bringing to the table on this, right? I mean, you've studied anatomy and Ayurveda and quantum physics, all these different things, right? Herbs.
Yeah, the human body is my fascination. I would say medical anthropology, basically. Looking at the human in all of its forms and facets, but especially from a more ancient point of view, because the ancients really, really understood the body and we're able to have very long, happy lives. And ultimately, it's about quality of life. And I think being able to see the human body and your own body in a more compassionate and full way can help us have a happier quality of life.
Yeah, very good, Elizabeth. Thank you. While we're in the healing garden, Susan, you want to take the mic?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you. For October, the class for the Spirit Doctor team and myself is RSVP to your cosmic self. And basically, the class is an invitation to come together with that aspect of ourselves that opens us to new experiences, to creativity, to more joy, to more love. And on a technical aspect, and the team has been working with this and some private work, but they're basically setting up what I'm calling an internet system, and they're doing it through the chakra system. And basically, it's like laying down tracks that will be switched on. And this is to assist us with our earth to heaven connection, which is what I believe right now in this moment of ascension, is this connection with our 3D self, our body, our lives, our day-to-day, and our 5-dimensional self to bring that blend. So come along and join, and I'm excited about this being a part of this month's theme, and just working with the energy of the Academy and having everything flow together. So thank you all.
So the Spirit Doctor team has evolved and changed since you've begun doing these monthly sessions at the Academy, I think you've told me.
Yeah, Lucia, it's been really interesting, and I really attribute it to everyone that's here, every member, every person who's part of this Academy, and the setup of the spiral, the configuration that you all have created for us to be in, because the work totally amplified. It went from, and it's still a part of the session will be a time to openly receive the work from the team, whatever your personal requests are, primarily. So in my working with them, it's grown to kind of express how, I hope I can put this in words, how we are all working together, myself, the team, and the Academy. So that's the bigger collaboration that's going on. That's new. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's exciting, and they're excited. They're excited. Also, they have really brought on board new technologies that they're working with. So that I think they're having a good time too.
Oh wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
And Beate, I'll let you open up your mic. We're so thrilled that you're continuing to give classes and help us out here with emotional processing. I'm delighted. What are you doing this month?
Yeah, hello to everyone. So my class on next Wednesday is called Release Old Remnants and Rewrite Your DNA, Bring Expanded Awareness into Manifestation. So as in every class that I offer, it's really important to give all of those who are struggling still with old remnants and have their difficulties to really access expanded awareness and manifest on a higher frequency level and so on. So that is really something I really want to be there for those. I think, Lucia, you had this no woman left behind. So that's really something I want to be there for all of those who still have to struggle with this. So that is one part of the class I'm giving, of course, that is a space to become more aware. Where am I still connected to more low frequency subconscious issues, and how does this have impact on my manifestations in the 3D world? And then in the space of awareness and allowance, I will offer this space so that we can really work with all these remnants and release them, hopefully. And I want to open a space of high frequency where we also invite expanded awareness, higher frequencies to really come down to earth, so that we really, with the help of the divine, with source light, help to rewrite our cells, our DNA, the space in between our cells, our aura field, to let really these higher frequencies come in and prepare our body to be able to hold it more and more, so that we not only in specific meditations or exercises can reach into expanded awareness spaces, but learn to do it in the daily life and be identified with the divine living in the body. So it's not only that to have a meditation where this can happen, but also to learn how can we do that day by day, again and again, learn to bring it down into ourselves, into our bones, into our daily 3D life. So that's something that is really something I'm amidst in. I'm loving so much, that the themes of the Academy are exactly what I'm working with right now. So
isn't that fascinating?
Yes, it's beautiful. And I'm really looking how to learn to develop new perception organs for what we are dealing with. So everything is changing so much. So how can we really bring this higher awareness into this 3D world, so that we really create a new world, because 3D is staying, but having it on a higher frequency. So that's more or less what I'm going to offer.
Oh, very good. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but processing is just repetition. It's practice, and so you just want to hang out with people who know how to do it really well, and who have no fear of navigating the emotional body. And Beate is just such a beautiful example of that in her own life. So.
Yeah, can I add something here too? I just wanted to, again, I'm going to make a plug as well. No matter how, all of us at some point or other need support in this way. It's not just, a few people who still have remnants. We all benefit. And I think Beate's work is just exquisite. So I've got to highly plug you on that as well, Beate. I think it's so important. And
thank you.
So helpful. Yeah.
Very good. And lastly, we want to introduce Patty Klauer. We are so thrilled to have Patty with us. Victoria made the connection and talked her into joining us here at the Academy, and we couldn't be more pleased. Patty was a student of Rama's. I'll just say a little bit from my perspective, Patty, as you're coming online here, but she was a student of Rama's, and so we're thrilled that she's teaching in the Career Garden, because that was Rama's forte. So many of his women students really learned this whole integration thing of how to bring higher consciousness down in and through the physical in order to create abundance for ourselves. And she's got this one nailed. If you're new to the Academy, Marina Spence, who was also a student of Rama's, gave some classes at the beginning, and those archived recordings are available on Career. And now we're really looking forward to hear what Patty says on the subject. And Patty is, to me, there are. I'll just speak honestly for a moment about Rama's community. There are many who decided in the end to make Rama into a religion. And that's fine if you want to worship somebody.
Except it was the last thing in the world that he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. He would have freaked. Well, he wouldn't roll over in his grave because it was cremated, but
the ashes would start.
Yeah. So, and then there were others of us that went on and continued our spiritual education and continued to investigate and do self-inquiry. And Patty was certainly one of those. She spent a lot of time with Gangaji. I think she was or is on her board of directors, so she worked closely with Gangaji and that whole Advaita Vedanta. You know, that's my great love is Jnana Yoga, and I learned so much from that tradition. And so she's one of those people who, you know, she's just there. She is the embodiment, the living embodiment of integrating those two things. And it's so rare to really find that in someone who's been very successful at doing that and managed to maintain her balance. So I don't know, Vic, you want to chime in on this introduction at all?
You know, I think what you said absolutely says it all.
Well, good.
So, yeah. Well, okay, the one thing I would add is that now she's expanding into bringing this fusion of both the spiritual and Vedanta understanding and business practices, and that's where she's really excelling, and that is very cool and very rare for people to be really successful with that, and she is.
So, Patty, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much. What a stellar introduction. I appreciate it. In fact, I just came from a 5-day silent retreat with Gangaji, so I feel very honored and very excited about coming to the Awaken Academy and teaching this class. It's called Walk in the World, and it's Mind-Body Meditation Practices for a High-Performance Life is the title. And really, it's the exploration. And as I listen to all of the various classes that are being offered this month, I'm just astounded at how brilliantly you have brought together so many relevant topics that really beautifully integrate and interface with all the different dimensions of what that means to be conscious embodiment. And and what's so ironic about it is that really Victoria started talking to me about teaching a class several months ago, and it was just timing that it happened to work out that the class I wanted to teach was this month, and it just worked so perfectly. It's kind of amazing. It's divine timing. So really what I would like to explore with everyone is, you know, what are the unconscious mechanisms that really impact our conscious moment-to-moment experience in day-to-day life? Because we have these beautiful oases of whether it's our home, or whether it's a certain place in nature where you go, whether it's the Awaken Academy where you go and you get nourished and supported with this, you know, beautiful energy. But, you know, we all have to engage at work and in our lives. And so what I'm really excited about doing is really talking about, you know, what are the functions, really providing some information about what are the actual natural mechanisms in our bodies that are operating kind of on an unconscious basis that we can start to bring and surface and become aware of, so that we can start to have a very conscious mind-body conversation. And you know, and that's a two-way conversation. Sometimes, I think it was Inelia who talked in the beginning about the monologue that we have going on in our mind. And what we focus on, you know, starts to manifest. So we can focus on certain things and, you know, watch how that starts to operate. Well, on the other aspect of it, if we know and understand what are the certain signals, the physical body signals that that actually triggers an impact in our mind, in our emotional being, on all the different levels. Maybe we can be aware of that on the other side as well. So it's really a two-way conversation. And I've sort of structured this into 4 sessions, because this is a big topic. And as Lucia mentioned earlier about processing takes practice, well, we really can rewire ourselves, but it does take practice. And so that's why I wanted to not just give one class. I really wanted to give 4 sessions that each kind of build on the last, so we can develop a common conversation and then explore in our daily lives how these mechanisms, work for us, and come back to the group and share our experiences. And I find that the group experience really sheds even more and more light on what we're all kind of exploring and discovering about this mystery of this, bringing this, we are a miracle. We're this mystery of consciousness in a body, and exploring that edge of that awareness is so fascinating to me.
How did you end up structuring it? You want someone to do the whole series, or can they jump in at different times?
So my preference is that people do the whole series, because each class will build on the last, and it's designed to build. But, I don't want to necessarily limit anyone. It's just, I'm going to structure it so, I'm going to ask people to have a journal with them. We're going to do meditation exercises and little exercises, but there's also going to be things I want people to explore during the time between the classes, because there's 2 weeks in between, and come back with. So if someone just jumps in the middle and they didn't have that, they'll certainly benefit from the value of other people's experience, certainly. So I don't really want to limit it, because our schedules are busy, and sometimes you're not able to do all 4. But that's I think the optimum.
Very good. Then in November, Tantra Mott joins us in the classrooms. We're really excited to have Tantra. She's also teaching a series of, I think it is 4 classes on a monthly basis. For those of you who don't know Tantra, there is a free audio interview of her that I did on the Awaken Academy announcements page. And, or the free, no, it's the free, what do we call it? Free audios or free something.
Yeah, free audio downloads or something like that.
Yeah. And what else did I want to say about that? And also the energetic update that we did on September the 30th. That's now up on YouTube. You can get a good feel for Tantra. She's amazing. And so that's October. That's our October lineup. I think in November we're contemplating the theme of redefining integrity. Wasn't that it?
Integrity redefined.
Integrity redefined, yeah. Because of everything that's going on the planet. So that should be interesting as well. And for those who don't participate in the live classes, just a reminder that the energetics of each class definitely holds in the recordings. So those recordings are available to not only members but non-members after the fact.